going on for the next 7 days is to get you connected back to your body through some natural movements, get you moving in some ways that are outside of the realm of exercise and more in the space of moving as your body was intended to move. So every one of these practices is going to start with a short check-in, and that's exactly what we're jumping into here. So I'm just starting in a seated position and adding some reaches here, thinking about creating strength and stability even though I'm sitting on the ground, making sure that my neck is loose, my shoulders are loose, that my core is strong and warm and is going to be there to engage and support me through all the movements that we explore today. Use this check-in time as an opportunity to see what's going on in your body before we get into 3 rounds of the day's movement sequence. I'm going to spend some time on the ground, mobilizing my neck, my shoulders, warming up my core, mobilizing my hips. It doesn't really matter what you're doing here specifically, as long as you're following your body, you're observing what your body needs, and just gently easing into the practice. Again, I'd really suggest focusing on warming those shoulders up and also mobilizing and opening the hips. For my check-in today, I'm going to be working primarily in a seated position using the side bend sit and the cross-legged sit, adding in some reaches, some rotations to create the stretches that are going to warm me up for today's practice. So make sure you're breathing deeply as you start out with these check-in movements. Pay attention to how these movements feel in your body. See if there's any differences going on between right and left sides. And just use this as time to collect information about how you're going to practice today. Today's sequence is going to be a combination of balancing and crawling. So we're going to start the check-in on our feet today. Here I'm just warming up my shoulders, releasing some tension with some head turns and some shoulder rolling. Also starting to mobilize the spine with some rotational movements. As my check-in continues, I'm going to pay some attention to my lower body, see how my feet and ankles are doing today. Then I'm going to go into these knee circles, a favorite of mine. Next, I'm going to check in with my balance, just holding a single leg balance and creating some movement with the free leg. Not only does this mobilize the leg that I'm swinging around, but it really fires up my standing leg and making sure that my stability is dialed in. If you're consistently losing your balance, I'd suggest that you use the wall or some fixed object to give you some support. It's not cheating, it's teaching your body how to balance better. Practice today is going to consist of hanging and some different crawling patterns. So during our check-in, we're going to pay some attention to warming up the shoulders through some basic hanging progressions. I'm starting with an assisted hang here. As you can see, I still have some contact with my feet on the ground, and I'm just going to go through some shoulder movements. Real gentle movements like these shrugs and rolls are going to serve you nicely. I'll alternate that with a floor sequence, starting with a forward fold, creating some length in the backside of the body. Next, walking my hands forward, finding a downward dog position. Deep breathing here. And then pressing forward, sinking the hips and going into a spinal extension. Any modifications here that are going to work for you, whatever you need to do to check in. Folding forward, downward dog, and crawl lunges are a great way to open up the hips before our practice today. Our kneeling get-ups are going to be a good way to warm up the feet and ankles. And then finally, practicing some light jumps where you're working on maintaining good alignment in the lower body and the upper body and having a good rhythm and timing with your technique.